I'm going to show you guys how to hook up Wraith Scribe with Zapier and why you want to do this. This will help you enable tons of no-code automation, so you don't have to code up anything to implement integrations to automatically post blog posts to your website or a database or anything you want to do with it. So before I dive into the step-by-step instructions, let me go over the high-level details because it's kind of important that you understand it. The high-level strategy is that Wraith Scribe will send to your Gmail a specific email in a very specific format, and after that, you will just parse it in this step 2. After that, it's kind of up to you what to do with it. In this example, we will broadcast it in 2 places to a database called Airtable, and then also create a post in Ghost.io. You can do whatever you want after the first 2 steps, but the fundamental strategy is that you will just get an email that is of a specific format, and then you will parse it. But for you, you might just store in Airtable and skip this last step, or you can take the output of step 2 and feed it directly to your CMS like Ghost.io. Do whatever you want. My hope is that in this more or less complicated quote-unquote example, you'll get an idea of how you might customize steps after this step 2. Let's dig right into it. Go to your Gmail account, click on show search options, and then do from no reply at mail.wraithscribe.com, and it has subject blog post payload. Create a filter, and then you can go ahead and skip the inbox, but apply a new label, and the new label, whatever you want. In this case, I'm going to just call it Wraith Scribe blog posts. Okay, and then we're going to create a filter. Once you've set up the filter for your Gmail account, which needs to be the same Gmail account that you signed up with Wraith Scribe with, you can test out whether or not your filter works by going to any article that you've written, hover over this WordPress button, and then move your mouse over to this envelope, and then just left click. Once you've left click, let's go back to our filters. And now in our email filter, we see that we successfully got our email. Next, we're going to do our Airtable setup. This is optional. The email parsing is the most important part. But for this specific example, if you want to follow along, let's set up Airtable, which is a database. This will let you store your blog post, and you can do whatever you want with it. Airtable has their own automations. So once you send it to Airtable, you can have Airtable do whatever you want with it. All right, in this specific example, I have a base called test in the top left corner, and I already have a table set up. In case you don't know how to set up a new table, you just do add table and then start from scratch. And then we'll call this table 2, and all you'll do is edit the columns to say unique identifier, for example, and then everything will just be long text. Okay, simple enough. You want to add a new column, then you will also just do long text and then give it a field name, for example, title. I will spare you the tedious column making instructions, and all you need to do once you've created your base and your table is to create columns, unique identifier, title, keyword, content, meta description, category, slug, feature image, URL, feature image, alt, and table of contents. This will neatly categorize very specific parts of every single article, so you can do whatever you want with it later on. We'll set up. All you need to do is to go to the Zapier step section and click on this link. This link will give you this template. All you need to do is fill in the information. So let's get started. So all you need to do is connect our Gmail account over here. So you just press choose and follow the prompts. Once you're done that, you're going to go to trigger, and then in the label mailbox, you're going to pick the label that we did in the first step when we set up our Gmail account. In my case, it's called Wraith Scribe blog posts. We're going to do continue, and then we're going to test our trigger. And as we can see here, this is the same email that we put in our filter. So let's continue with selected record, and then we're going to do text formatter. The event will be text in the template, and what we're going to do next is to go in transform and then do extract pattern. So for the pattern to extract, all we need to do is go back to this tab over here and then copy this regular expression, which will extract all the fields, and we're going to paste that in here. For input, we're just going to do the body plain and then match all. We're just going to do yes, multi-line yes, basically all yes except for the last one. and then we're going to continue. And then we're going to test this step and make sure that the fields are extracted. As we can see here, this is the unique identifier, this title, this keyword, content, and so on and so forth. All right, we're going to continue. And next step, we're going to connect our Airtable account. Once your Airtable account is connected, you're going to pick the base, which mine is called test, and then it's called blog posts for my table. And then all we need to do is map in the fields with the output from this text formatter. So all we do here is go and do this, and this is going to be output 0. This is the ID. Okay, so let's review. So in order, it's going to be output 0, unique identifier 1, 2, 3, 4. We skip 5 because that's an array of categories, and the output 6 is a single category. You can do 5 or 6 here. I choose 6 because that's more appropriate for Ghost.io, which we'll look at later. 7, 8, 9, and 10. These are somewhat straightforward, so you can kind of map it by looking at the output values. Once you're done, continue. And then we're going to test this step. So we're going to now go back to our Airtable table, and we see that this has been pushed to our database. Now that we're done with Airtable, let's move on to Ghost. All you're going to do is to link up your Ghost account and then map the Airtable categories to the appropriate Ghost.io fields. So here is the title required by Ghost. We're just going to go to Airtable record and fields title. And since we've named everything pretty nicely and appropriately, all we need to do is fill out the rest of the information. For status, you can do draft or published. For testing, you might want to just try it out in draft to make sure it works. Once everything's good, you might want to switch this to published. For content, it's going to be in HTML. Okay, so for this content HTML, there's 2 choices. You can do table of contents and content, and in this case, your article is going to have a table of contents and then the actual content, or you can just do content by itself if you don't want a table of contents. The excerpt, you can leave blank, which I did, or do meta description, and then the rest you kind of just match up. Once you're done, click continue, and then we're going to do retest step. This is sent it to Ghost.io about a second ago, so let's check. Okay, in my Ghost.io site, in my admin, we can see that there's this draft here with a nice featured image, title, table of contents, and basically the entire article. So once you're happy with it, all you need to do is press publish, and anytime you finish an article on Wraith Scribe and you choose to publish to your Zap/email, this flow will run and you will always be able to broadcast to an Airtable as a permanent record and then also create a post in your Ghost.io CMS. Okay, so you've done all the hard work to set up your Zap. How do you actually use it in Wraith Scribe? So if you have an article written already, as we've seen earlier in the video, you can just press this publish to email in Zap. When you press this button, it'll send you an email in that specific format, and then it'll do the Zap and publish it on Ghost.io and save it to the Airtable database. But this is only for a single article. What happens if you want to do this on a batch article basis? So on a batch article basis, you just press batch article in the menu here, type in your keywords as you want, and then all you need to do is press yes on publish to your email/Zap. Note that if you are publishing to a WordPress account, so for example, in this select account to publish to, you select a WordPress account, we don't recommend you also publish it to your email or Zap. It'll do both, but you're basically going to have identical pieces of data across different parts of the web, and that's not so good. And if you have a WordPress integration already, with Wraith Scribe directly, it's not advantageous to do a Zap to post to a WordPress. Now, if you look at this info carefully, it says it sends payload to your email for use with Zapier if used with Webhook account below. So in here, if you choose a Webhook account, it skips the Webhook publishing and priority Google indexing and will use your Webhook website as an internal source only. It's actually good that this is like that because the thing with a webhook integration is if you look at integrations and then you press this webhook any website a couple weeks ago, when you do this webhook any website integration, you have to do a bunch of coding to be able to intake the post request notification. Now, because with this batch article, when you press yes, and then you select a webhook account below, you don't actually have to do any coding. And this is just shorthand to be able to use your website as an internal link source. And then you can, if you want to avoid coding altogether, you just don't implement the webhook code and instead just have your Zap published to your website instead. So you can avoid a bunch of coding while being able to go to integrations, press this, and then just connect your site within a minute.